I need to send her an email. Huh? I think you're better off just... Okay. You'll get their attention better than I will.
Well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, shkoyach for the kollel, for being gracious enough to ask me to say a few words, especially in the month of Elul. It's a big schus. Try to be mezaket rabbim during the month of Elul. But the truth is, this really is for me. So Rabbi Yisrael Salanta used to say, it's worth to travel to the other ends of the earth to speak to a group of Yidden. Even if you'll inspire only one Jew, even the speaker himself, it's already kedai. So I'm doing this for myself. So of course I understand what you're thinking. So why should we suffer because you want to inspire yourself? Okay, but they asked me to say a few words, so I'm saying. So the topic I want to talk about tonight, I think the topic was the schus of being mechayim mesim on a daily basis. I cannot tell you how choshev this topic is, what it means, how necessary it is, how crucial it is, always was maybe, but today especially. Because more than people want food or desire food, drink, even money, people are starving and they're pining for a good word. And I don't mean a good word on the parsha. People are starving to hear a good word. Say something nice to me. Compliment me. Build me up. Make me feel important. I'm not so good at that. That's why I'm speaking about it. Rav Zilberstein brings that Rav Meir Chodesh, one of the great Balei Musar, 20th century. So even in his older years, Baruch Hashem, he slept very well. But one night, Mamish could not sleep. He was up and he was pacing back and forth. And his grandson was announced. He says, Zaidi, what's wrong? He says, I can't fall asleep. There's something that's on my mind that's bothering me. I can't. He says, what is it, Zaidi? See, this is what Gedolei Yisrael are busy with. He says, I can't understand. Why is it so hard for people to compliment somebody else? Why can't they say a good word to somebody else? Why is it so hard that we feel like we're ripping something out of ourselves, giving a piece of ourselves up when we say something nice to somebody else? And you have no idea what it does for a person. It's literally tchiyas hamesim. There's a Zohar in Parshas Tazria. The Zohar in Parshas Tazria says that the same punishment, the same consequence that a person gets for speaking Lashon Hara is the same consequence for a person who could say a good word and holds back and doesn't say anything. Now, at first glance, I mean, what's the tushta? You say Lashon Hara, you say something negative about another Jew, that's terrible. We all know Lashon Hara is terrible. Here, I didn't say anything. All right, I could have said something nice. I could have complimented. I could have lifted him up. Okay, I didn't. But it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing because you don't understand how much maybe that person needed it. and how down in the dumps they are. You know, we are fantastic actors, actresses. We can win Academy Awards. He walks around with a big smile, a joyful disposition. You have no idea what people are going through. You have no idea what their daily issues are. Emotional, health, parnasa, shalom bayis, chinuch of children. You have no idea what people are weighed down with. People don't advertise on a neon sign their problems. And we have no idea what a good word can do to somebody. Rav Zilberstein writes, and again, I'm a big fan of Rav Zilberstein. He has, I mean, these stories abound, we know. But one time there was a Rav, a big askin in Shalom Bayis issues. So he's once in one of the yeshivas, and he walks over to a bacher. He goes, I want to speak to you for a second. He says, I want you to know something, that you saved the marriage of Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. So the bacher looks at it and says, I think you have the wrong person. I know what you're talking about. I don't deal with Shalom Bayis issues. I didn't save anybody's marriage. No. You saved somebody's marriage. He says, Rebbe, I think you're making a mistake. You must have me mistaken identity. I says, no, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Did you go over to this person, a father of somebody in the yeshiva, and you went over and you told him, you know, your son, he's such a machai, he's such a wonderful guy, he's a masmid, he's a beautiful person. You must have, how you raised such a child is gewaldig. You remember saying that to somebody? He says, yeah, I did say that to him. He says, you saved his marriage. He was having a lot of issues, self-esteem issues, whatever he felt. You know, a person doesn't feel good about themselves. It affects everything. By you just making that statement, you mamish changed him. He became a different person. A different person. He has another story where this fellow, on the years, he gets an invitation from somebody in Switzerland for a wedding. He doesn't know the people, can't recognize their names, knows nothing. So, to make a long story short, he somehow gets in touch with this person, with the chassan, like, I don't understand why I'm invited. He says, you don't understand why you're invited? The whole chassan is because of you. He says, a number of years ago, I was in the yeshiva. We were together. He was an older person, but I was in the yeshiva, and I didn't really know anybody, and I felt alone, and it was just, I was zerbrochen. I was broken. And I said to myself, that's it. I can't take it anymore. No one said anything to me. Nobody said hello, whatever. I said, I'm getting out of here. You know, after Shabbos, I'm getting out of here. So on Shabbos, everybody lines up to say Shalom Aleichem to Rosh Yeshiva. So you were behind me, and you put your hands on me, and you started fixing my collar. And you said, you know, Chasheva, he didn't know the guy. He said, Chasheva bacha like you should, the collar's turned up. Chasheva bacha like you should have a straight collar. He straightened it out for him, said a nice word. That was it. He says, because of you, I stayed in the yeshiva, and I learned for a number of years. What? What did he do? He did nothing. You have no idea what chizik is. Let me share with you a Balaturim. This Balaturim, I mean, you could cry from this Balaturim. This is in Pashas Veschanan, very beginning. Veschanan al Hashem Beisahi Leimos, and Moshe Rabbeinu is davening. He's davening. He wants to come into Eretz Yisrael 515 times. Says the Balaturim, Ve'eschanon, La'el Ksiv Lo Tirom. This is the last pasuk in Parshas Devarim. So the last pasuk in Parshas Devarim, it says, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, Lo Tirom, don't be afraid, Ki Hashem Elokeichem Hu HaNilcham Lachem. Hashem is going to fight your battle, don't worry. Says the Balaturim, listen to this. Le'el ksiv lo tirom, chizakti es Yisrael. I was mechazek klal Yisrael. Ulai yerachem olai. maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have mercy. I'm davening for 515 times. But you got to come with something. It's not just a tefillah. What's your source? What about the fact that I took Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim? What about the fact that I led them for 40 years in the Midbar? What about the fact that I stood on Har Sinai? I took the Torah for the Klal Yisrael. What happened to that? No. Lo sirom. Chizakti es Yisrael. I was mechazik Klal Yisrael. What'd you say? It was one pasuk. Lo tirom ki Hashem Elokeichem nilcham lachem. That's all you said. You didn't say anything else. Ulai yirachem alei. Maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in that schus, that was mechazik them. You see what chizuk is? Everybody needs chizuk. Everybody. The Pashut Yid, there's no such thing as a Pashut Yid, but the Pashut Yid, the Rebbe, the Mechanech, the Rav, the Reshiva, the Rosh Kollel, everybody needs a good word, and you have no idea what it does for people. When was the last time you ever thanked the Rosh Kollel for doing such a great job? I didn't do it either, but so I could say it now. People are human. They need chizuk. The Satan needs chizuk. You have any idea what a compliment does? There's a Gemara in Sukkah. Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. Ravaka Bayakov Mamti Lei Umaisi Lei. He was moving the lulav back and forth, and I knew him. Omar Dain Geira Be'enei Desitna. There's an arrow in the eyes of the Satan. The Lav Milsihi. Mishum Da'osi Ligruye Bei. Rashi says, Ein Nachal Omarkin. It's not a good idea to say that to the Satan. Rashi says she is gara by Satan shu yetzahara v'yisrael litos me'alkono v'yimser atzma lodov. I mean, the Satan's he's not going to take kindly to that. He's going to get back at you. So Pashup Pshat is, it wasn't a good idea, and maybe it wasn't a good idea for Rav Acher bar Yaakov either. But the Orach Laner says, and the Ben Ish Chai says the same thing. No, this applied to everybody else, but not to Rav Acher bar Yaakov. You know why? Because by Rav Acher bar Yaakov, he had a different relationship with the Satan. Because the Gemara in Bava Basra tells us in Daf Tes Zayin Amar Aleph. So it says Rav Levi darshened Satanu Penina L'Shem Shemayim. So he gave the drasha. But Rav Acher bar Yaakov took that drasha and he went on a speaking tour. And he went out and he publicized the fact that the Satan is L'Shem Shemayim. Dosha Rav Acher bar Yaakov Pupanya. And he darshened this, that the Satan is L'Shem Shemayim. Also, Satan nashke lekare. The Satan came and kissed him on his foot. So says the Ben Ish Chai, he had a relationship with the Satan. He complimented him. He said a nice thing about him. He lifted him up. He can get away with it. So he can say something like that. But no one else can do that. You know, the mashal they give is, if you have money in the bank, you have $1 million in the bank, so you could write a lot of checks. You don't have to worry. It's not going to bounce. It's going to take a long time until it bounces. Today already it goes very fast, but once upon a time it took a very long time. But if you only have $50 in the bank, you better be very careful how you write your checks, because very, very soon they will bounce. And it's the same thing with people. You want to give tochacha? We're busy with tochacha all day long. And I don't mean serious tochacha that we stand there and give mussar shmuzim to our wives, or to husbands, or to children. But, we talk. And in our conversation, we don't even know what we're doing. We don't even know what we're saying. There's constant critiques, little critiques. Do this, do that, go here, go. Don't do that, go there. Do it. You did, the food didn't, it needs a little more salt. Constant critique. You want to do that? Okay. But make sure that you have a great deal of deposits in the positive banking department. if you spent a lot of time lifting somebody up, making them feel great, and they know and they feel that you feel that I'm great, you could afford to give a tochacha here and there. But if they're not confident, if you don't have a lot of deposits in somebody, so what are you giving tochacha for? The Gemara in Erchin says, also I think Tav Tezayin, Rav Tarfon said, Tmihani, if there's somebody in this generation who can receive tochacha, there's somebody who knows how to give tochacha. This was 2,000 years ago. It's a long time ago. I want you to know something. We've been lied to a certain degree. Now, I want to be careful with what I say. Because I think sometimes people have this erroneous idea. Well, years ago, men were men, people were tough. Today, and it's true. Today we are weaker. There's no question about it. Today, you look at somebody the wrong way, they need therapy. So it's true, we are weaker. But we have this feeling, but that was the way to do it. Well, it used to be tough. Tough. Really? Think so? Rabbi Shor Salanta said the essence of chinuch is lahachyois ruach shefolim ulahachyois leiv nidkoyim. Is to build up, is to give life to those who are downtrodden, to those who are broken. I thought the essence of chinuch was teaching Torah. Avad is teaching Torah. Of course you got to teach Torah. But the question is, how is it taught? How is it taught? Are you lifting them up? Are you showing them that they really feel the love? There's a Rashi. I've written about this, but nobody's going to remember anyway. There's a Rashi in the beginning of Parshas Devarim. This Rashi is probably one of the top. Now, I'm not a bucky in Rashi, and I'm not a bucky in anything. But there's got to be the top 3 Rashis in Kol HaTorah Kula. Rashi says in Parshas Devarim that Moshe Rabbeinu is giving Mussar to the Jewish people, to Klal Yisrael, before he dies. So Moshe Rabbeinu, how do you know to do that? Where'd you learn that from? We're from the Missouri state, the Show Me state. Show me, where's it? Which state? He says, I learned it from Yaakov Avinu. Because Yaakov Avinu, this Rashi is a pele. It's a pele. And then I got a Chofetz Chaim to show you afterwards, which is mamish. Okay, we'll get to it in a second. He says like this. Mimi lomad, mi Yaakov, shelo hichiach esbonov samach lemisa. Omar Reuven b'ni. You hear this? Reuven, my son. Ani omer lachem yudema lo yhakaktiko kol hashanim alalu. Why did I give you tochacha all these years? You move the couches, this, that. Kidei shel. You know why I didn't? I didn't shepherd you. Kidei shelo tanicheni v'telech v'tidbak be'esav ochi. Because I was afraid that maybe you might leave me and cling to my brother Esav Harasha. How do you read these words? You're talking about the Shiftei Kah. You're talking about Reuven. You're talking about Yaakov. If there's anybody who knew how to give Mussar the right way, it certainly was a Yaakov Avinu. And he said, I was afraid. I was afraid. I was concerned that maybe it would be too much of a turnoff. And you would join Esav, so therefore I'm doing it now at a deathbed. So I don't even know what this means. I don't even know how to explain it. But one thing I think Rashi is trying to say, that this Chazal is trying to tell us, is you see how careful you have to be with tochacha. Now, most of us do not have the luxury of waiting to our deathbed to give tochacha to family members. You have to give tochacha. But you got to heap on big time. compliments, 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 because it builds people. You have no idea what it does for a person. Now I'm going to show you that Chofetz Chaim. I'm going to tell you right now, if I would have said this Chofetz Chaim here on my own, you would have been smirking. You'd laugh. These pulpit rabbis, they try to make a drush out of anything. Try to pull a rabbit out of a hat. So I'm going to read to you. I'm going to read you the Chofetz Chaim. I'm going to read you what he says. This is a Pella. It's hard for me to believe he even wrote this. It's on the Pasuk. It's not that funny. Vayikra Yitzchak el Yaakov vayevarech oso. Yitzchak called Yaakov, he blessed him. This is at the end where Rivka wanted him to go to his Lavan's house to get a shidduch. So Yitzchak called him in. Vayevarech oso, he blessed him. Vayitzaveyu, and he commanded him. Vayomer loy. He said to him, Loy sikach isha mibnois Canaan. Don't take anybody. Don't take a woman from Benos Canaan. Go to your mother's house. It's pretty straightforward pasuk. Okay, nothing jumps out. Nothing unusual. So listen what the Chofetz Chaim says. Amar Rabbeinu, habitu uru'u. Yaakov Avinu ishtam yeshev holim. Yaakov Avinu, the Bechir Sheba'avos. Yitzchak Avinu mevakesh lahadricho v'loy malo. He wants to be madrichim. He wants to tell him. Where should he? He wants to tell. Where should you go for a shidduch? It's an appropriate thing for a father to tell a child where you should go for a shidduch. Ma olav lasos. Ma hayinu anu osim. What would we do? Koirim. We'd call our son over. Umitzavim. We'd tell him, look, son, this is where you should go to get a shidduch. Achlo kain asa Yitzchak Avinu. But Yitzchak didn't do that. Now listen to this. This is incredible. Who kara livnoi. He called his son, Yaakov. And Yaakov was no boichiko right now. He was 63 years old. It was shine sight to get married, no? Ubirko, he gave him a bracha. Barosha b'rishayna hiriv brachas al rosho. First, before he said anything, he started to heap brachas on him. You're a good son, you're this, you're that. I don't know, whatever brachas there were. The kama hisragesh Yaakov Avinu. This is the Chofetz Chaim talking. And Yaakov Avinu was misragesh. He felt so good. The Tata's giving me brachas. The kama hikr tova. He was makir tov. Va'oz rak oz. And then, and only then, tzivo, he commanded him, not b'dibur kosher, ela ba'amira raka, because it says vayomer, not vayidaber. Sorry, he said it softly. K'omer asay no imodi chesed. Do with me a chesed, please, my son. Al tikach isha mibnois Canaan. Please, don't take a woman from Canaan. Go to your mother's house. Was this Musar? Was it Musar? He was just telling him, go to your mother's house to get a shidduch. But the Chofetz Chaim says, no, he gave him a bracha. Brachas. And Yaakov felt good. And then, now I'm not sure if this is the Masader is doing this or the Chofetz Chaim. What about parents who are not like Yitzchak Avinu? Ubeneim einam ki Yaakov Avinu, and their children are not like Yaakov. Veheim manchisem al beneim tzivuyim b'loshen kosher bolta, and they talk to their kids harshly. Look, it's a busy world. We're under a lot of stress, but we have to understand what we're doing when we criticize, and what happens to a child, to a spouse. It's just. They tell over a story, apocryphal story. Right? So this woman her husband was always criticizing her. I mean, it could be the other way around too, trust me. But he was always criticizing her. So, she couldn't take it anymore. So she goes to the Rav. She says, Rebbe, what do I do? I can't. It sucks all the oxygen out of me. Everything I do, this, my dress, the food, with the kids, Pasha can't do anything right. He says, no, I hear you. You got to let off some steam. I'll tell you what you do. Take a big piece of wood, a plank of wood, And every time your husband says something negative, go upstairs, take a nail, and knock it into the wood. Just let off a little stress. He says, okay. So the husband is sitting, eating, they're talking. He says, you know, the food, the salt, you could have used a little more salt. It's a little overdone. Right away, she gets up. She runs upstairs. He doesn't know what's going on. All of a sudden, he hears, okay. She comes down. They're talking some more. He says another thing. All of a sudden, she just disappears, runs upstairs. This goes on for like 2 weeks. Every time he says something, she's gone. He doesn't know what's going on. She says, can you tell me what's happening over here? Almost every time I say something, you're running, and I hear this. What is this? She said, I'll tell you, my dear husband. I went to the Rav, and he gave me this piece of advice, that I should let off some steam. It hurts me, and I bang a nail into a piece of wood. He says, what? He says, can I see this, please? So she goes upstairs. She brings down this big plank of wood. There's literally 200 nails in that piece of wood. And he's looking at it. Now, Eino Doma Shmi L'Riyah. And he says, you know, it hit him. It hit him. He says, you know what? I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to start to change. I'm going to start to compliment. But on one condition. Every time I give you a compliment, I want you to take out a nail. And he was good to his word. He started to change. He was saying nice things to her, complimenting the food, how she looked, this, that, gewaldig. Finally, after like 3 weeks, he said, okay, can I see the board now, please? She comes down with the board. He looks at it. Not one nail is left. They're all out. He says, you see, all the nails are out. She said, yeah, but look closely. All the holes are still there. You pay a price for critiques. Yeah, I know they were tougher in previous generations. Who says it was right? Just because the fallout maybe wasn't the same? Now we're so weak, you know. My Rebbe used to say to me, Moshe Yosef, your generation is like tissue paper compared to my generation. Well, if my generation was tissue paper compared to my Rosh Yeshiva, he should rest on Gan Eden, then this generation is less than sawdust. Okay? It's true, it's weaker. But you see from Chazal, that from Chofetz Chaim, from Rashi, there's other Marmakomas. We don't have the time. But you see that that's not the way. That's not the way. It never was the way. Shammai was an Adam Gadol, Ad Ma'od. But we paskin like Beis Hillel. And v'sanuso shel Hillel. Loshen Raka. Shammai had a shita. Okay? Adam Gadol is entitled to a shita. We don't paskin that way. Hillel! The Gadol Hador! Gadol Hador! Unbelievable. Person comes on Nudnik with the stupidest questions in the world. And the Gadol Hador's got all the time. He sits with him. He says, my son, ask, whatever you want. What is this? Okay, we're not going to be a Hillel. Here, I know I'm getting late, and I'm going to stop. Just give me a second. The Pele Yoetz, around 200 years ago. He's on the topic of Hanhoga. Hanhoga, how to demeanor, how to conduct yourself. So here he's talking about how you have to be able to handle everybody according to their personality and their ways and the times, etc. You have to have mamash the Chochmas Shlomo HaMelech, right? But then he says you might feel that it's too difficult. Look, I can't figure out everybody. It's not so easy for me. Exactly what you need and what you need and what you need. I don't know how to do that. So he says, you know, I'm going to help you out. He says, take this rule into your hand. Lihisnahe, now listen to his words. This is the Pele Yoetz. I think he was a Sephardi. I think so. Sephardim are tough. Klal ze biyoda lisnei liolam, forever, always. Im kol adam, everybody. Your child, your spouse, your friend, the guy who's not your friend, the nudnik, the chutzpaniak. Loilam im kol adam birakos hu ponim soichakos. You got to speak softly. Ponim soichakos. Smile. Umilos mesukos, in sweet words. Ubeprat. Listen, this is unbelievable. Ubeprat bidoros halalu shechutzpa yazgi. His generation, chutzpa yazgi. I can't imagine what he would say today. Afilu abanim tanim einem mekabim kol kach koshus today, 200 years ago. The loshin raka tishbo gorim ubazeh yeh adam ohuv lamala v'nechmed lamata. That's what it is. Just that's the rule. The rule is sweet. The rule is nice. Okay, you can't always do that. I understand it, but that's what we've got to work for. This is what I'm talking about. The schus to be mechaye mesim. And you know something? And you don't even have to sometimes speak. Just listen. Focus. Instead of having, where is this? Now, I don't bring the phone usually into the kollel. It's off. But this thing, it has its good points. You're coming out of yeshiva with your son. I see a parent, father, he's walking with his son. He's on the phone the whole time while he's talking to his son. I don't understand you. You love your son. Parents love children more than anything else in the world. You die for them. You go into fire for them. There's nothing you wouldn't do for them. And you have a chance, you're with your child, even if you don't say anything to him, just like, you're bonding, you're just with him. It's just me and you. No, I'm on my phone the whole time. Do you understand the message that sends? Husband and wife, they're also supposed to be pretty close. Al kein yazoif ish es oviv ves imoy v'dovak beishto v'hoyu lebosor echod. Pretty close. They're sitting down. Wait. I'll be with you in a minute. Can we have can we focus? Can we have just me and you a little time? That you're not on the phone, I'm not on the phone. Even if we're not on the phone's on. It's here, it's right by the supper table, it's right here. You're showing how you machshav somebody. Okay, we're going too late. I'm ending with a story. Oh my gosh. I can end with the story? Okay, fine. This was in the Halak and Mishpacha magazine. Dr. Meir Wickler, he's a psychotherapist. He talks about this topic of compliments. So he writes there a story. There was a fellow who is he's a son of Holocaust survivors. I can relate. There's a wonderful husband, wonderful wife, very nice marriage, everything nice. But he had a big problem. What was his problem? He could not compliment his kids, his wife. He couldn't. And she was starving for a compliment. She was just starving for something. I mean, he respected her and he honored her. He did everything he was supposed to do, but she couldn't take it anymore. So, they have these, when you take your shirts to the cleaners, if you want to fold it, so there's a cardboard in there. She took one of these cardboard shirts and she wrote on it, she was so desperate, "You look beautiful." And in parentheses, she put, "Say out loud." And she waited till they had to go to a wedding. They were going to a chashik. She got dressed up. And she took the cardboard and she gave it to her husband. And she said, "Please, could you say this to me?" So he's looking at the cardboard. He's looking at her. But he's a good husband, so he says, "You look beautiful. Read out loud." So she tells Dr. Wickler, says, even though he only said it because I told him to say it. And he read it because I told him to read it. And he was naive enough to read the parentheses which said, "Read out loud." She told him, "You know what? It still felt good to hear those words." Because that's how much people are starving, to hear something good. They need a chiyas. And Mitz Hashem, if we live up to this, to give chiyas to others, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us all chiyas to write us and inscribe us to l'ksiva chasima toiva You should be zeicha to the ultimate chiyas of the Geula Shalom Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Herav Yameinu. Amen. Thank you so much. Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Shkoyach, shkoyach, shkoyach.